Okay, day 67, no Braverman. First off, let me say, please ignore my comments, my complimentary comments toward Bill Clinton. I was just saying that it seems to be his first reaction to solving a problem is getting people together. I realize he can be phony in that, but going to the barbecue and, getting everybody together, listening, working his talking points out, putting in the effort, at least as a politician. And I have gone to Arkansas and I've talked to many people who, he knew in the 8th grade and he remembered their names 20 years later. And I walked around a party and I talked to a lot of different people and they all said the same thing. If Bill Clinton walked right up now, he would tell me what my name is and he'd know my kids' names. So I'm just trying to contrast that to someone who tries to solve the problem with military force or killing someone or using sarin gas as the immediate first reflex action. That's all. So I'm not trying to say Bill Clinton's a great guy. I like Obama as well. I've let that known in the past, but my personal opinions about Bill Clinton and Obama don't really matter. But Obama went to 99 counties and went to the chicken fries in Iowa as well. And other politicians didn't step into Wisconsin one day. So for the whole election. So that was all I was trying to say. Let's put that aside and get back to solving the problem. And that really, last time I asked, do these folks know, does Braverman and Brown know what they're really dealing with? Okay. So I'm gonna dive down in on the contractors now, and this is going to be more for the researchers who are doing the trafficking stuff. So there's a long history in the Middle East of Bechtel and Halliburton and so forth building these pipelines across Syria that goes right after World War II, basically. And if you watched earlier versions, you're going to see the secret pipeline that Mark Rich had and all that. Where the trafficking comes from is two places. Well, I'll go back to the slide, but you get these contractors that are involved in like Al-Mabani here and CCC again. They do these mega projects in the Middle East, and this is the Saudi Arabia Metro 1 and Metro 2. These are multi-billion-dollar projects. And so in that loop, when you're going for, kind of, and especially the pipelines, you make a lot of trips. Like the previous owner of CCC is, I think, even got a fellowship named after him at the Council of Foreign Relations. And this is in New York City. This is basically an oil subsidized lobby of a cross-section of people from a lot of different walks of life. But you have politicians, you have economists, you have people from the State Department. You've got a real mix of people. This is World Bank, but I'm just using this to make an example. And like you even have journalists like Fareed Zakaria from CNN and so forth. And they're going to say, well, let's talk about that pipeline going from here to there. Neil Brown, let's put your pipeline up, up on the wall and let's all chat about it. So what I'm saying is these executives like Rahmani here at CCC and the Albani executives and so forth, Bechtel, these are all these kind of subcontractors, would bring them to New York. Well, after all the meetings were over, they would take them out, and they especially like to go out in the town, and there would be, and this is where I get personally involved. I roomed with a gal who was, went to all these Jeff Epstein parties, and she's a waitress at all these parties. And let's just say the party had a definite beginning, middle, and an end. And actually, Trump would go to these parties very early. He'd be there 5 minutes. He'd be there with a supermodel. He'd shake a few hands, get his picture taken, and then go to another party. But Clinton was a frequent visitor at these parties. And I don't want to say too much more than that, other than there was evening entertainment for these gentlemen that were coming from the Middle East. That was a big deal. And so the next place you would go, everybody says, okay, that looks like a great pipeline. Then the next place you would go is you'd fly down to Washington, D.C. and go to the World Bank because, as I said before, you want the State Department and the World Bank to pay for as much of the infrastructure as possible, the electrical grid infrastructure, the water for the workers, the roads for the trucks to drive in on to build the pipeline, et cetera, even in going as far as shopping centers and skyscrapers after the oil starts going. And that's what CCC does. So you go down here to Washington now. this is where you're going to be meeting with the foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia and the Kuwait and UAE and Bahrain and so forth. This is where the den of iniquity, I'm not pointing at these people saying the den of iniquity, but these people are many times the princes and sons of the king of the country. So they may have 50 or 60 sons. Osama bin Laden is probably the best example. He was one of 50 sons, and his father owned one of the largest construction companies as well in Saudi Arabia. So this is where you're getting the Comet Pizza thing, where you're not having things happen there, but there is a very good chance, from the evidence I've seen so far, that there is this kind of showcasing. So you've got these stringers that go out and bring in people and foster parents and et cetera, and I don't want to get into who is and who isn't. That's really, I want to keep a distance from that. But I'm just saying, if you want to lead, this is where you should look. Now, the other thing I want to say is, at times people come forward. How should I say? And there's violence in the situations in this evening entertainment situation, or several people come forward and they want to blackmail or whatever. I don't know all the details, but if you want to look into the Long Island serial killer case, I think you're gonna see a connection there, because when these people with diplomatic passports come over and they get in trouble, they don't have to answer to the law because they have the diplomatic passport, but they have to answer to the world of public opinion, and that's where you're going to get into this some of these serial killer type situations. I don't have any more information than that. I'm just letting the Long Island LISK people who are researchers in that area, I'm just telling you, this is where to look, okay? So, I'm not saying that Rahmani was involved directly, or his father was directly involved in LISK. All I'm saying is that these are the people that have the incentives to get the kids out of Aleppo and now Idlib and now Palmyra, and get them down to the ministers of the UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, etc. They have the incentive to providing those children, and the children are very popular. Now, the other piece of this is when they get older, the White Helmets is going to be your group pulling the kids out. I showed you the parallel earlier. I'm a little nervous, so I'm sorry. I showed you the parallel a little earlier to CCC down here with this traffic down here. So this is a repeating theme, a researcher. There is a shocking kind of dual appearance of these gas attacks and then this kind of underground railroad of children. So everywhere you see a gas attack, I would say that is a good place to start, and I would say start with a contractor who's building here. So those are just words to the wise as far as if you're doing research in this area. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my stuff, which is at what point do we stop this? At what point do we say Hillary's foreign policy for Syria with all the sarin gas and all this stuff is a failed policy? At what point do we start working with our enemies, or I don't even know why Russia's an enemy, but at what point do we start working with them rather than coming up with all these fake stories? And then these cover-ups, with the killing of these folks doing trafficking investigations, and these folks who are coming in to doing human rights investigations from the Russian plane. And it's really a very few people. I want to say that again. I'm not saying everybody in the FBI is bad, or everybody in the CIA is bad, or everybody in the State Department is bad. What I'm saying, it's just a few people that, Petraeus would use children. He would go into villages. His whole, counterinsurgency idea was go into a village and then go into the village next door and then say, I'll get the kids from this guy's tribe and I'll give them to you if you kill the other guy. Or we'll set a bomb off and then we'll take his children. And you can do whatever you want with the children. But Petraeus is at the war level, at the war fighting level. What I'm talking about is the next level, which is killing people for business, killing people to grease the wheels of business. And that is kind of where I'm making the distinction, between Morell and Petraeus. And this type of complicity, knowing that you're doing that in this kind of environment, I'm leaving Jeremy Bash out of this, but I'm saying these two, you don't make foreign policy decisions for the United States anymore. You cannot continue this private contracting, the sarin gas attacks, and the child the child trafficking. So I'll leave it at that for round 3. I just wanted to clear up the thing about the positive comments about Clinton and Obama. Thanks.